How did you outfox your ex in family court? My ex-husband thought he was brilliant hiring the most expensive lawyer in town and claiming I was mentally unstable while he painted himself as the stable parent who deserved full custody of our daughter. He'd been building his case for months, documenting every time I was 5 minutes late for pickup, recording our arguments, even taking photos of dirty dishes in my kitchen sink to prove I was an unfit mother. His strategy was simple: make me look crazy and unreliable while he appeared to be the responsible, successful businessman who could provide a better life for Emma. For weeks leading up to the hearing, he'd been playing mind games, showing up early to every pickup and making comments like, "Hope you're feeling better today," loud enough for witnesses to hear, implying I had mental health issues. He'd send concerned texts about Emma's well-being that seemed caring on the surface but were clearly building a paper trail. His new girlfriend would take photos of him being the perfect dad at school events he'd never attended before. The morning of our custody hearing, I was terrified. He walked in wearing an expensive suit with his shark lawyer and 3 character witnesses, including his new girlfriend who looked like she belonged in corporate boardrooms. I had my court-appointed attorney who'd met me for the first time that morning and barely knew my case. During opening statements, his lawyer painted me as an unstable woman who was bitter about the divorce and using our daughter as a weapon against her loving father. They presented evidence of my erratic behavior, including photos of my messy house and recordings of me raising my voice during our custody exchanges. His witnesses testified about what a devoted father he was and how concerned they were about Emma's well-being in my care. Then his lawyer called him to the stand. He gave this Oscar-worthy performance about how much he loved Emma and how worried he was about my mental state. He talked about finding better schools for her, providing stability, and how his successful business could give her opportunities I couldn't afford. The judge was nodding along, clearly impressed by his presentation. When it was my turn to cross-examine, my lawyer asked basic questions that he answered smoothly and confidently. But then I remembered something my friend had told me about his business practices. I whispered to my lawyer to ask about his tax filings for the past 3 years. His face changed slightly, but he claimed everything was legitimate and above board. Then my lawyer asked about his employees' workers' compensation claims. He got defensive, saying that was irrelevant to custody matters. But the judge was interested now and allowed the questions to continue. That's when I realized I had information he didn't know I possessed. My sister worked for the state labor department, and she'd mentioned seeing his company name come up in investigations. I passed another note to my lawyer suggesting she ask about recent state audits of his business. He started sweating as he claimed there were no ongoing investigations, but my lawyer pressed harder, asking specific questions about payroll records and employee classifications. Finally, he admitted there might be some minor disputes with regulatory agencies, but insisted it had nothing to do with his ability to parent. The judge decided to take a recess to allow both sides to present additional documentation about financial stability and character. That's when my lawyer made the call that changed everything. She contacted the state labor department directly and requested any public records related to his business. What we discovered was devastating. His company was under federal investigation for tax fraud, wage theft, and misclassification of employees. He owed over $200, all in back taxes and penalties. 3 former employees had filed lawsuits for unpaid wages. The business he'd been bragging about as proof of his stability was actually a house of cards about to collapse. When court reconvened, my lawyer presented all the evidence: financial records showing his business was bankrupt, federal tax liens against his property, documentation of him paying employees as independent contractors to avoid paying benefits or workers' compensation, court filings from employees suing him for stolen wages. The man who'd been portraying himself as the successful, stable parent capable of providing for our daughter was actually a business owner who couldn't even pay his own employees legally. His expensive lawyer started objecting, but the evidence was overwhelming and publicly available. The judge's entire demeanor changed as she reviewed the documents. When she finished, she looked at my ex and said, "Sir, this court is concerned about your honesty and your ability to provide the stable environment you've claimed to offer." I got primary custody with him receiving supervised visitation until he could prove financial stability. His child support obligations remained in full effect, payable even while his business was under federal investigation. The irony was perfect. His attempt to appear more successful than me in court led to the discovery of crimes that actually made him look like the unstable, unreliable parent.